that shit.
What? Oh!
Oh my god, what is that?
Take me back to old Yazoo. Everything up here is new. I can't stand it, just must land it.
Stephen Donovan and his friends were looking for an adventure, and they thought they had found the perfect way to do it by using the Randonautica app, an app that randomly generates coordinates, often leading users to strange and unexplained locations. As they followed the pin, the road became more isolated. Soon they found themselves in what appeared to be an abandoned ghost town. But something about this place was off. Old wooden buildings stood eerily silent, their windows dark and empty. As they drove past, they noticed something disturbing: mannequins. They stood completely still, posed inside buildings, positioned behind dirty windows, watching from the shadows. But there were no people in sight. The deeper they went, the stranger it got. Rusted, abandoned cars lined the road, their doors missing, their interiors gutted as if their owners had fled in a hurry and never returned. Then they saw a sign: private property, no trespassing. They had every reason to turn back, but instead they kept going. After a while, the road became too steep and narrow to continue by car, so they parked and continued on foot. By this time, night had fallen, and the darkness made everything feel even more sinister. That's when something happened. From the hillside above, a rock tumbled down, crashing onto the path in front of them. The timing was too perfect, almost like someone or something had thrown it. Stephen hesitated. He knew it was a sign to turn back.
Down, and the moon came out, giving it just more of a creepy vibe. But we had the pin pulled up, we were so close to it, and this happened. I don't know how to explain this. We're the only ones around, and a random rock falls. I think that was a sign that we should leave. But we kept going.
But despite the overwhelming sense of dread, they pushed forward. As they neared their destination, they reached the ruins of an old building. Stephen stepped closer and peered inside. That's when he saw it. A face.
We kept going. Everything about this place was just giving me really bad vibes, and when I looked into here and saw this, as soon as I realized it's some sort of face, we took off running. I don't know what it is with this town, why there's all these abandoned.
At first it was barely visible, blending into the darkness. But as his eyes adjusted, the shape of a pale, human-like figure emerged from the shadows, watching him. A wave of terror washed over him. Without hesitation, the group turned and ran, sprinting back down the path as fast as they could. The fear was instinctive. Whatever they had just seen, they didn't want to stick around to find out more. They didn't stop until they reached their car. Even after leaving the ghost town behind, the experience lingered in Stephen's mind. He later made the decision to delete the Randonautica app entirely, unwilling to take the risk of ending up in another nightmare scenario. But the scariest thought of all? Were those abandoned cars left behind by other Randonautica users, ones who never returned?
Before moving forward, I'll really appreciate if you would take some time to subscribe to the channel and join this amazing community. About 95% of you guys aren't subscribed. It's free, plus I got a surprise for you all once we reach 50,000 subscribers. Now, back to the video.
Curtis, an experienced outdoorsman and nature lover, had spent over 400 days living in the wilderness, embracing a simple life surrounded by nature. He had stayed in many bothies, small, remote shelters scattered across the UK, each offering a quiet, peaceful retreat from modern civilization. But on this particular night, at the White Lagan Bothy, his solitude was shattered by something he couldn't explain. The video was uploaded to YouTube on November 16, 2023, documenting what was supposed to be a typical overnight stay at the Bothy. He arrived at the Bothy as the sun was setting, after a long day of hiking through the rugged landscape of Scotland's Loch Dee region. The structure stood alone, nestled against a stunning backdrop of hills and open water. A Scottish flag waved gently in the wind, marking the entrance to his home for the night. At first, everything was normal. The bothy was empty, just as he had hoped. He set down his pack, gathered some firewood, and admired the quiet beauty of the landscape. A few passing hikers and members of the mountain bothy team stopped by for brief conversations. But as night fell, Curtis was completely alone. He started a fire, cooked a simple meal, and settled in for what he expected to be a peaceful, uneventful night. But then, it started. The first sign that something was wrong was a knock at the door. Not thinking much of it, he got up to check. No one was there. A chill ran through him, but he brushed it off. Maybe it was just someone messing around, another camper nearby playing a prank.
Weird shit. Fuck's sake. I just wanted a nice little bobby night. If you've watched all my videos before, you know I don't do shit like this.
Then, the knocking came again. This time, he waited a moment before opening the door, hoping to catch whoever was doing it. But when he stepped outside, he was met with only silence. The vast, empty darkness of the Scottish wilderness stretched before him. There was no one there. That's when he started to feel genuinely uneasy. Curtis had spent hundreds of nights alone in nature. He had heard strange sounds, seen unexplained sights, but he had never felt like this. Something about the knocking, the timing, the complete lack of any sign of another person didn't sit right. But the real terror hadn't even started yet. As he sat by the fire trying to shake off the unease, he began hearing something moving inside the bothy. Footsteps. Faint, deliberate shuffling sounds coming from the other room.
And they're walking around into the room, and then they go in there, and it just stops. Maybe I just put my music on really loud and forget about it.
His heart pounded as he froze in place. Slowly, he reached for his flashlight and stepped toward the doorway. He knew he was alone. He had checked the bothy when he arrived. But as soon as he entered the room, the noises stopped. Silence. No wind, no shifting wood, nothing. Curtis stood there waiting, listening. Nothing moved. He stepped back into the main room, and almost immediately, the noises started again. It was as if something was walking around, only stopping when he entered the space. At this point, his nerves were shot. He turned on his music, blasting punk rock, reggae, and drum and bass, trying to drown out whatever was happening around him. If something was there, he didn't want to hear it anymore. For the rest of the night, he sat by the fire, focusing on his music, refusing to acknowledge the growing feeling of dread pressing in around him. By morning, the experience still lingered in his mind.
Morning, had a bit of an experience last night. Not really sure what was going on. Thought it was just people knocking the door and running away that were camping nearby, but it didn't seem like that when I went outside. Couldn't really explain what was happening next door with the noises, but I'm not really a believer in ghosts myself. It was a bit creepy, but...
Looking back, he tried to explain it rationally. Maybe it had been other campers messing around, or maybe the old wooden structure just made noises on its own. But deep down, he wasn't sure. Curtis didn't believe in ghosts. He had never been the type to entertain paranormal ideas. But for the first time in over a year of living in nature, he had experienced something that left him questioning everything. It was January 15th, 2025, when Marcus Brinkley and his two friends set out for what they thought would be a fun and harmless camping trip in the woods near their neighborhood. The three friends had camped together before, But this time, Marcus decided to document the experience and share it on his YouTube channel. Normally, his content was lighthearted, filled with casual outdoor adventures and harmless fun. But this night would be different. The group spent the early evening gathering firewood, setting up their makeshift camp and joking around as they worked. The forest around them was quiet, with only the distant sounds of rustling leaves and occasional barking dogs from nearby homes. The air was crisp and cool, perfect for sitting around a fire and telling stories. Everything seemed normal. They built a sturdy base using logs and sticks, laughing as they tested its strength. Satisfied with their work, they left briefly to grab extra supplies, sleeping bags, food, and flashlights.
Hold on. Yeah, y'all see it. Y'all see it. MTV toys and the thing. Look now. Look right here. God dang. It's sturdy. Sturdy as hell. Look at this. Yeah. No movement. Cause I barely move that big. If we move that like that big gonna fall. I am not even gonna hold you.
When they returned, the woods felt different. At first, it was subtle. The energy of the forest had shifted. The stillness that had once felt peaceful now felt unnatural. There was no wind, no chirping insects, just an oppressive silence that none of them could explain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they lit the fire and tried to ignore the growing unease. They laughed, played music, and tried to focus on enjoying the night. But then, the feeling of being watched became too strong to ignore. One of them suggested they explore the area a bit, just to shake off the nerves. With their flashlights in hand, they ventured deeper into the trees, their voices echoing against the silence. That's when they heard it. A noise, low and distant, coming from somewhere ahead of them. It was faint at first, like the sound of an animal moving through the brush. But then, it became louder. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. Not the scattered movements of a deer or small creature, but something large. They froze. Shining their flashlights toward the source of the noise, they scanned the darkness. The beams of light cut through the thick trees, illuminating the dense undergrowth. For a few seconds, they saw nothing. In the distance, something stood between the trees.
Shine light, man. Shine light. Shine light. All right.
We finna go exploring. We done put out the fire.
Yeah, we don't put out the fire.
We gonna start it back up, but
Yeah,
his
but
phone going dead. It's on 2%.
yeah, but we finna explore it for a little bit. Come on, hold on. Shine light on me, bro. Come on, man.
Did you hear that, bro?
Nah,
I think I just heard it.
it must be. I hear dogs. That's what I hear.
Hey, what the fuck is that?
What? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Go! 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 Oh shit! Go! What? Go! 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 Oh shit! What the hell? Oh. What the What the is that? Come on, twin. Hell nah. I don't trust that shit. I don't trust that shit. Hell nah.
At first, it was barely visible, just a dark outline blending into the forest. But as their eyes adjusted, its humanoid shape became clear. It was tall, motionless, and its head seemed too high for a normal person. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching. A wave of pure terror washed over them. Then, it shifted. Not a full movement, not a step forward, just a slight tilt of its head, as if acknowledging that it knew they saw it. That was enough. Without hesitation, they ran. Panic took over and they sprinted back toward their campsite, tripping over roots and crashing through the brush. But their dog, their loyal companion, didn't run with them. The dog stopped, turning to face the figure. Its body went rigid, ears pinned back. The fur on its back stood on end, its entire stance one of defense. Marcus and his friends barely made it back to their camp before realizing their dog wasn't with them. Their fear deepened. They turned back, desperately calling out, their voices cracking with panic. Seconds stretched into what felt like hours, But finally, the sound of pounding paws on the ground broke the silence.
Alright, Chad. What? I don't know what the that was. What is that? I don't know what the I don't know what the Chad, I don't know what the that was. Oh. What? I ain't doing that shit again.
The dog was running toward them, panting heavily, but unharmed. They didn't stop to question what had just happened. They grabbed their gear and ran, leaving everything behind. The night in the forest was officially over. By the time they reached their homes, their hearts were still racing. Trying to process the experience, they attempted to explain what they saw to their parents. But their parents didn't believe them. They insisted that it was just their imagination, that the dark plays tricks on the eyes, that their fear had turned a normal tree or shadow into something monstrous. But Marcus and his friends knew better. They had all seen the same thing. A tall, human-like figure standing motionless in the trees. And even their dog, an animal with instincts far sharper than their own, had sensed the danger and reacted accordingly. As they tried to make sense of what happened, only one word seemed to fit the description of what they had encountered: skinwalker. Was it truly a shape-shifting entity from folklore? Or was it something else? Something lurking in the woods, waiting for unlucky campers to stray too far? Whatever it was, Marcus and his friends knew one thing for sure: they would never go back to that part of the woods again. Three friends were driving home late at night after a camping trip, traveling along a deserted road surrounded by dense forest. The drive had been peaceful, the kind of quiet that settles in after a long day outdoors. But as their car rolled down the empty stretch of road, something by the tree line caught their attention. A dark shape crouched near the trees, motionless. It was low to the ground, its form barely visible in the dim glow of the headlights. At first, they assumed it was a wounded animal, perhaps a stray dog or a coyote in need of help. Out of curiosity, they slowed the car and began recording, unsure of what they were looking at. Then, they heard it. A deep, guttural growl echoed from the trees. It was unnatural, too low, too resonant for any familiar animal. The sound sent a wave of unease through the car.
You're so good at that. What?
No, can you not see that?
Oh my god, what is that?
It's a dog, isn't it?
Can you hear that growling?
Shit.
Oh my god.
It's going
What's it
crazy.
doing? Oh my god. Is it a dog? Is it hurt?
Should we check?
I think, yeah, let's go and have a look.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shit.
Come on, let's go have a look.
And suddenly, the idea of stopping felt like a mistake. As they studied the figure, something felt off. The way it remained completely still, almost as if it was watching them, filled them with a growing sense of dread. For a moment, it didn't move at all, just blended into the darkness. But then, it shifted slightly, as if preparing to move closer. Fear gripped them. Whatever was crouched there was not a normal animal. The tension in the car escalated as the feeling of being watched became overwhelming. Without hesitation, they made the decision to leave immediately, speeding off down the road, putting as much distance between themselves and the eerie figure as possible.
I'm scared. Tom! Where is it? Is it in the bush? Tom! Sophie! Let me... I'm scared. Is it? It sounds really close. Right, Right, get in the car now, Tom. So get in. Oh my god. No.
Once they were far enough away, they reviewed the footage. The video captured exactly what they had seen, a dark, humanoid-like shape near the trees. But upon closer examination, something didn't add up. Its feet, which should have had claws or paws if it was an animal, appeared human-like. The way it moved, though unnatural, wasn't entirely impossible for a person to imitate. The encounter left them with more questions than answers. Some believed they had come face to face with something supernatural, while others suggested it was nothing more than an elaborate prank. But regardless of what it was, the fear they felt in that moment was real. One thing was certain: they had no intention of ever driving that road again. This video was uploaded to YouTube on February 18, 2023, by Eder Hernandez. It follows a group of explorers as they venture into the Cueva del Diablo, or Devil's Cave, a site infamous for paranormal activity, sinister legends, and eerie sightings. Before even setting foot inside, the group recalled a previous visit to the cave. Years ago, they had explored it during the daytime, accompanied by a witch doctor who warned them of the cave's dark energy. Even in daylight, strange and unexplainable things had happened. Now they were returning at night, this time alone, to test their courage and uncover the truth behind the legends. Their journey to the cave was not easy. The path wound through dense forests, with thick foliage making it difficult to see beyond a few feet. They trudged through uneven terrain, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet, the only sound breaking the heavy silence of the jungle. As they moved deeper into the wilderness, a strange feeling crept over them, a growing sense of being watched. The usual sounds of the forest, chirping insects, rustling branches, distant animal calls, were missing. Instead, there was only silence, thick and suffocating. Then, out of nowhere, a noise echoed from deeper within the jungle.
Si son fácil, yo creo que el güero va a resumir porque si son fácil. Por este camino, mi gente, me dijeron, y me acuerdo, porque ya venimos hace varios años, no sé, unos 40 minutos, quizás menos.
Loco, ya se ven unos ojos, mira.
¿Eh?
Allá se ven unos ojos.
¿Dónde? Güero. Acá se ven unos ojos, güero. Oye. ¿Sí oyes? Güero. Allá se ven unos ojos. Oye. ¿Qué es eso? Es un animal, yo quiero pensar. No sé, loco, yo nunca voy a puede ser, mi gente. ¿Qué pollo? ¿Tú, Fósil? ¿Qué es? Fósil.
Mira, mira, mira.
¿Todo bien?
Carnal, ¿qué?
¿Qué fue?
Algo se movió ahí, güey.
¿Dónde?
Ahí, en la copa de ese árbol, güey.
Júralo.
Te lo juro por Diosito santo. No, sí no vi nada, nomás escuché y vi el movimiento de las ramas y se cayó unas hojas. ¿No escucharon?
No, güey.
No mames, se lo juro por Diosito, güey.
No se ve ni verga, papá.
Cuidado.
Ten cuidado, Fósil. No te quedes tampoco tan atrás,
A
güey.
la verga, me da
Oye,
culo.
güero.
Mande.
It was faint at first, almost indistinguishable from the wind. But as they stopped to listen, it became clearer. Something was moving in the shadows. It wasn't the soft scurrying of small animals. These were heavy, deliberate movements. Their flashlights scanned the darkness, searching for the source of the sound. That's when they saw them, glowing eyes reflecting back at them from the trees. At first, they tried to rationalize it, perhaps a jaguar or another large predator common to the area. But something about the way the eyes stared at them, unblinking, unmoving, felt wrong. A chill ran through the group, but they pressed on, determined to reach the cave. After what felt like an eternity, they finally arrived at the entrance. The Cueva del Diablo loomed before them, a gaping hole in the earth, dark and foreboding. The air around the entrance was noticeably colder, and an unshakable sense of dread settled over them. Still, they refused to turn back. Stepping inside, they were immediately engulfed by darkness. The walls of the cave were jagged and damp, and the air was thick and stale, making it hard to breathe. Their flashlights flickered slightly, casting eerie shadows that danced along the rock walls. As they moved deeper inside, an overwhelming sense of unease took hold.
No, qué bárbaro. Vean, mi gente, todo esto está lleno de trabajos. Oye, yo lo que no veo es la veladora que se veía desde arriba, desde abajo, perdón. ¿La viste tú? Yo no la vi, güey. Cuidado. ¡Ah, la verga! Se empiezan a escuchar ruido. Mi gente hermosa. Pues miren, aquí está la entrada de la cueva del diablo. Ahí viene la flota. No sé qué se vaya a grabar allá adentro. Pero la cosa es que cállense. Vean, mi gente, vean. A la verga hay un altar, pa. Hay un altar. Vean nomás. A la verga, güey. Mira ropa, güey, veladora. Ay, Dios mío. A la verga. No tiene manos, ¿viste? Bueno, sí, como de... Hay una foto de... Sí. Allá hay un animal muerto, ¿ya viste? Allá era que tiene cal. Ese sí. Y aquel. Apesta de la verga, güey. Mira, oye, escucha lo que se oye. No mames, es que se escuchó algo allá afuera, verga. Ey, abusados allá atrás. Vean cómo nos pasan, mi gente, literalmente los...
Then, without warning, something happened. One of the team members suddenly stopped in his tracks. His breathing became shallow and erratic. His posture stiffened. His eyes locked onto something only he could see. The others called out to him, but he didn't respond. It was as if something had taken hold of him. For a brief moment, his face twisted into an expression of fear and confusion, as though he was fighting against something unseen. Then, just as suddenly, he snapped out of it. His eyes darted around wildly, and he looked at his friends in disoriented panic. When they asked what had happened, he couldn't explain it. Shaken but determined to continue, they moved deeper into the cave. The silence was now accompanied by an oppressive energy, an unshakable heaviness that clung to the air. Every step forward felt like a mistake, yet they pressed on, unwilling to leave without finding concrete evidence of the cave's dark reputation. That's when they heard the whispering. It was faint, almost as if the cave itself was breathing, words they couldn't quite make out, murmuring from the darkness ahead. The sound sent a wave of terror through them, but they kept their flashlights trained forward, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was causing it. And then, a shadow moved. Not their own, not a trick of the light, something deeper, darker. It shifted just beyond their line of sight, vanishing the second they tried to focus on it. The cave suddenly felt smaller. Every instinct screamed at them to turn back. The fear was no longer just in their heads. Something was in there with them.
A la verga. Güerito, aguanta, verga. Cálmate, güerito. Aguanta, loco, este vato nunca va rápido, güey. Pollo bobo también ya no quiere nada. Ay, mira, ya se me está alejando más. Güero, espérate, papi. Verga. No puedo, güey. A ver, chile, ya no puedo, güey. Oye, el tecolote otra vez. El tecolote otra vez. Yo ya lo escuché ahorita, ¿Sí lo oyen? No mames. Güero, ¿dónde vas? ¿Qué pido? No mames. No mames, güey. No mames, güey. Acá estoy con mamada, güey. Espérate, súbate. No mames, qué loco. Verga, me tropecé. Ay, puto. Verga, me pegué un vergazo en la mano. ¡Puta madre, qué culo! ¿Sí lo viste? ¡Ay, la verga! ¡Verga, coño!
Finally, they made the decision to get out. They turned and hurried toward the entrance, each step filled with a desperate need to escape. The air seemed to grow heavier the closer they got to the exit, as if the cave was trying to hold on to them. But the moment they stepped outside, the oppressive weight lifted. The jungle, once eerily silent, suddenly came back to life. Insects buzzed, leaves rustled, and distant animal calls filled the air. It was as if whatever had been watching them inside had stayed within the cave. Once they reached a safe distance, they tried to process what had just happened. They had set out to investigate a legend, but instead they had experienced something beyond explanation. Had they witnessed a possession? Had they disturbed something evil? Or was the oppressive energy of the cave strong enough to play tricks on their minds? One thing was certain: none of them were eager to return to La Cueva del Diablo. Although this isn't a camping encounter, the sheer intensity and disturbing nature of what unfolds in this footage makes it impossible not to include in this list. Uploaded by Freddie McKinney on February 2nd, 2025, this video documents a harrowing event that took place on May 2nd, 2024, near Hawley, Texas. Freddie, an experienced storm chaser, was following a powerful supercell thunderstorm when he witnessed something that would turn his chase into a life-or-death mission. The day had started as any other for Freddie. He had been tracking the storm as it intensified, knowing the conditions weren't particularly favorable for tornadoes, at least not at first. However, an outflow boundary from a dying storm suddenly tightened the circulation, transforming the storm into a powerhouse. Within minutes, a violent tornado touched down, its massive funnel cloud tearing through the Texas landscape with terrifying force. Freddie, positioned near the tornado's path, filmed as it grew stronger, its winds whipping debris into the air. The funnel twisted and expanded, turning into an EF3 tornado with winds capable of demolishing entire structures. At this point, he was focused solely on documenting the storm. That changed in an instant. As the tornado tore across the land, Freddie spotted something horrifying. A house, completely destroyed, reduced to nothing but rubble. And emerging from that wreckage was a family of 4. A father, mother, and their 2 children, one only 4 years old, stumbled through the debris, injured and in shock. Freddie's instincts as a storm chaser vanished. This wasn't about filming anymore. This was about saving lives. Without hesitation, he pulled up and threw open his car doors, yelling for the family to get inside. Their home was gone, the storm still raging, and they had nowhere else to go. The father carried his young son, his face covered in cuts and dirt, while the mother, shaking, held their daughter's hand tightly.
Just trucks. Oh my gosh, there's 3 up here. I gotta make sure it didn't hit a house.
Noticing the scattered debris, I first assumed the tornado had struck a couple of outbuildings, as very little remained of the damaged structures. However, this is when something catches my eye. A white Chevy Tahoe, something you don't just leave sitting in the middle of a field, is laying right next to a pile of rubble. This is when it dawns on me that a house may have been struck by the tornado.
Please tell me they're not just at a house here. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's people. There's people. Get in! Get in the car! Get in the car!
Please, God, help!
Open the door, get in! Come on, guys! Get in the other side! Other side! Other side! Come on!
Come on!
Come on!
Please get us. I need your phone. I gotta call my mom.
Right here, get in!
Get in! Get in! I know. Look at me, look at me. I gotta look where you're bleeding, okay? Look at me,
We
like.
gotta get to the hospital, buddy. Do you know where the nearest hospital
Yes.
is? Hey, let me get that dog. Oh, where's the
Okay,
dog? Where's the
Scout.
dog? Where's the dog? Come on, Bill! Bill! Hey, come here, buddy!
Billy, come on, Billy, come on! Come on!
Billy!
Girl.
Billy! Holy
Okay. Go, guys, go!
I'm a storm chaser here. Okay, man. You gotta get to the hospital.
I need a towel.
I've got injured people in my car. Don't get in the mud. I'll try not to.
Don't get in the mud, you'll get sick.
Yeah.
Hey, Wes, I love you.
Just to make this very
Hey,
quick.
we're okay.
I've got injured people in my car right now.
Okay, where?
There's a tornado here. Where are we at, guys?
Hodges.
Hodges?
Texas.
Freddie helped them into the car, glancing at the storm in the distance, knowing there wasn't much time. The sheer terror in the family's eyes was something Freddie would never forget. The mother was trying to calm her children, whispering reassurances while the father clutched his arm, clearly injured but focused solely on making sure his family was safe. The drive to the hospital was filled with sirens and destruction. Roads were blocked with debris, emergency vehicles rushed past, and entire neighborhoods lay in ruins. The tornado had left a scar on the town, one that wouldn't fade anytime soon. Once at the hospital, the family was quickly taken in by medical staff. Freddie, exhausted and emotionally drained, stayed behind, making sure they were stable before finally allowing himself to process what had just happened. Days later, he returned to the site of the destruction. Where the house once stood, there was now only emptiness. And with that, I'll take your leave. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, let me know your thoughts on this video. Even criticisms are appreciated. Don't forget to check out more disturbing videos that will be on your screen in about 3 seconds. I'm out.